Point number two is there are various controls here, various different things that allow different kinds of interaction. So one kind of interaction is a menu. Here's a menu right here. When I click that little arrow, and the arrow is getting to be, generally speaking, a standard control. Notice the same arrow here. When I click on that arrow, when I click on this little triangle, I also get a drop-down menu. That's what that's called. And in either case, it allows me to have a lot of commands, a lot of different possibilities packed into a small space. Look at how much space this thing takes up when you're not there. Look at how much space it takes up when you are there. This one over here takes up even more space. So the reason I use a control like that is because I want to pack a lot in. Now, that's the good thing about it, is that it allows me to pack in a lot of controls. Look at all of these different things I can do just because I clicked on this little arrow. That's the good part. The bad part is that it may be hidden. So I may be looking for my privacy settings, and I just don't notice that stupid little arrow up there, and I'm looking around forever trying to figure out where those settings are. They're more or less hidden under here until and unless I know how to use it. Okay, so this is a menu control. This one over here is a text box control. Notice I have a text box control here. I have a text box control here. The purpose of a text box is to allow you to type text, free text of whatever variety you want. Now, that doesn't mean that any kind of text that you type in there is going to make sense. In this case, we're trying to get you to type a URL, right? An http:// kind of thing. In this case, it's not entirely clear what you're searching for here, but usually what you search for here is someone's name, the name of a person who you want to find, and you want to go to their page to look at what they're doing. So we have menus, we have text boxes, we also have buttons, and a lot of these things I would characterize as buttons. Like, for example, that's a button. That button takes me back to the last view of the client area that I was in. Let's see if we can find other buttons. I'll distinguish buttons from links. This one I would call more like, we don't have a lot of buttons here. Buttons usually look like buttons. There's a button right there. These are all buttons up here. Buttons are, well, like buttons in the outside world. They're little things that you push, and when you push that button, something happens. When I push this button, I go to search. When I push this button, I will stop the loading of a page. When I push this button, I will refresh the loading of the page. These are all buttons. These are all these guys over here are buttons as well. So buttons are pretty ubiquitous. Now, that takes care of a lot of the stuff up here. Actually, let me deal with these things right here. These are called tabs. Tabs basically allow you to see different things or allow you to pack a lot of different information onto a single screen. Notice I have 4 completely different views here, and they're all packed into these small areas. The more I add, the smaller these will get, and I can actually pack a tremendous amount of information onto the screen by just using these tab controls. That's what really they were invented for. Okay, now moving down into this area, into the Facebook area. When I interact in here, I'm interacting with Facebook. And the general way that Facebook likes to do things is by links. Notice that all of these things are links. These are all links. I get the mouse over. Any of these things are text strings and images, and when I click on them, something happens. And so all sorts of different things happen, obviously, when I click on these things. When I click on a person's name, I would expect to go to their their page, their wall. And in this case, I have something called mouse over behavior. I mouse over Mark's name, and I get a little bit of a pop-up about Mark, giving me what Facebook thinks is the right amount of information to know what's going to happen when I click on that link.